Welcome to episode 3 of the Leeds Rhinos Podcast, and we bring you all the news from the Rhinos camp, looking back on round 1 against Wakefield and looking ahead to this weekend's trip to Salford. My name's Phil Daly, I'm the head of media and PR. I'm delighted to be joined by our transition coach, newly role there for Chev and we'll be chatting through Saturday's game from there. Well, we had so much optimism last week going into round 1, but as Mike Tyson once said, everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face, and we stand here a little bit bloody-nosed, a little bit bruised from that experience on Saturday, but it was only a 2-point defeat, and we lived to fight another day against Salford this week. How have the lads reflected on Saturday's game, Chev?
Yeah, as you can imagine, they've after the build-up in the pre-season and the way that the trials went, there was a lot of expectation, and then to go out and perform the way we did, probably in the first half, is been tough on the boys. They've come in this morning with their tails between their legs, and rightly so. If they came in with a spring on their step, we'd probably think that they didn't care. But there's a tight group there, and a little bit disappointed by some of the stuff that came out of the game, but also encouraged as well at the same time that there's only a 2-point margin, and we didn't play great at all. So plenty to work at, but there's a sombre feeling at the minute in time.
And it's noticeable when you look across all 6 games in the opening round of Super League, 4 of them were 0-0 after 20 minutes, quarter of the game gone, no score. Does that tell us where we are at this time of the season? Obviously, big physical effort during pre-season to make sure everyone's fit and strong and lots of systems in place, but maybe the attack not quite firing across the league?
Yeah, and attack's always the hardest thing to develop. It's a confidence thing, it's a cohesion thing, so if you look across all the games this week, as you say, they were low scoring, and teams that are known for their attack wasn't really firing as well. So then it takes a while, and again, like most teams, focus on the defence first and foremost. That's pretty much where you keep yourself in the game, and points scored is where you tend to win.
And talking about that defence, we kept it tight for that first quarter. They got them 2 tries, back-to-back tries, almost. When they threatened us, what was the take on that afterwards in the post-mortem?
Yeah, we'd obviously prepped for it. They've shown glimpses and shown the hand a little bit in the Boxing Day friendly, and we had the intentions of being really aggressive and shutting down the play. And it was a fine margin between doing that and being stripped ourselves. So the fact that we was overly aggressive and came out of system within that, like that's two parts of the D that probably compounded a little bit. We was overly aggressive, not really thinking with his minds, and came out of the system as well, and Wakefield exposed that.
Yeah, Daryl Powell said after the game that you were saying about Boxing Day, he thought he saw that we were tight there. They looked to get that shift on us. Is that just over enthusiasm, trying to make that big hit and shut things down?
Yeah, and it's felt like forever to be able to prep for this game, and then knowing that we'd played against them Boxing Day and actually seeing what they was going to do, we felt that we had a measure of it. But again, we just didn't concentrate right at the last second of it. So being aggressive is one thing, but being aggressive and being in the system is another. So a lesson for us, and obviously they've done their homework and performed that really well, and came up with the right play at the right time, and it stripped us. So fair play to Wakefield's coaching team and the players that delivered it, but we can fix that. We can fix that, and I'm sure we will.
And it wasn't like we didn't have chances as well, particularly in that second half. I'm thinking Morgan Gannon, when he went close, Andy Ackers tries to create something from dummy half as well. We were knocking on the door, but the try from Sam came too late really for us to be able to. We were looking for a miracle at that stage.
Yeah, and that's the positive, I suppose, is that we never give up playing, and we never felt like the game was out of us reach. It just, we ran out of time. So tidy up a few bits around cohesion and combinations of play and post some points earlier. We feel a little bit different, and then if we don't come up with them 2 blips in D, then the whole demeanour of the team seems a little bit calmer, and I reckon that the defensive hiccups led to some of the attacking, what would you call it? Yeah, just the attacking, like breaking down. So it's one thing leads to another, and we just need to be better in the moments where games seem to be going a little bit out of our control, and just take a second and retune and reset ourselves.
A word for our two wingers at either end of their career timescales. Riley Lum got put under a lot of pressure, a lot of high balls under Riley, but he dealt with them really well, I thought, and they came through and were really physical with him. He seemed to pass that test. And of course, Hawley on the other wing, lots of metres and was really go forward for us.
Yeah, and always been great for the group. Not only Riley, but also Harry Newman. He's really led the way in the way that he's approached pre-season as Ollie, and not missed a minute of pre-season, but he shows the way it is and does his job. He's very reliable, and Riley's really taken. Riley's been taken under Ollie's wing, and yeah, you can see that in his game. He's brave and he's tough, and he's. I think he carried every set. Did both the wingers, both wingers carried in all the sets. So yeah, Riley's come a long way in such a short space of time.
And we look down the top tacklers for the game. James McDonald came out with 38, Cameron Smith 45, but topping them all was Andy Ackers with 51. A big effort from Andy on defence, which then does that impact on his ability to attack? Are they Wakefield working him there?
Yeah, now full-back and 9, you to be the fittest on the field, you're pretty much involved in every play on both sides of the ball, defensively and attacking. But yeah, not having an interchange, like most teams will carry a second dummy half on the bench, and obviously with Cine going down last week, that was covering for Jock, and Jock not quite being ready for last week. Andy had to step up, and I think he did a great job. Really consistent in his D, and full of energy from the minute 1 to right to the end there. So yeah, probably hindered him being able to run as much as he wanted to. He had to manage his own game, but I thought he stood up really well and defended strong for the team.
And in terms of the review today, when you and Brad and the guys have talked to them, plenty for us to take forward into Salford this week?
Yeah, 100%. I think the coaching team was really honest with them, with the group, and kept themselves really accountable as well, which was. I know as a player, when the coach puts his hand up and admits that he may have not got things wrong, but overly coached and maybe put a little bit of doubt or jitters into the players' minds about what was going to expect, or whether the message got missed in translation. That was spoke about in the review, and the players are, like I said, got the tails between their legs, but it's all fixable. And the players was really accountable on some of their part that they played in that. So when coaching staff and players are on the same page and know what we have to do to fix it, that's promising.
Yeah. And here on the Leeds Rhinos podcast, you won't be surprised here, we're positive about what our guys can achieve. That's what we're here for, to talk through the game. We're not hiding away from the disappointment of losing the game. That's what Brad spoke about immediately after the game. But we're here to support the guys, and thank you for listening to the Leeds Rhinos podcast. By all means, there's other podcasts out there. After last week's launch, people were talking about the Lock Pod, and if we'd fallen out with those guys, certainly not. Those guys can do it. They're the voice of the fans, and we appreciate what those guys do. But we're about supporting the guys and getting on board. There is quite a lot of negativity around the result, as you expect. People, live and breathe the team. You were a fan once upon a time, Chev, and people can be disappointed. Round 1, we've lost at home to a rival in Wakefield, but the important thing is that the guys don't get caught up in that noise. They've got a job to do this week. Yeah,
and look, the expectation and the pressure is, without sounding like a cliche, it's a privileged position to be in. Like it's all you ever dream about being a kid, but when you see it as a kid, you're just thinking about the glory bit, and it's generally the hard times that galvanise you. I know certainly in my early part of my career, we were on the back end of some poor results, and we found a lot of resilience and grew from that. And yeah, it's finding ways for the players to take lessons from it and learn. It's not always going to be pretty, but if we can play how we played and only be 2 points away from, which was pretty much a perfect first half for Wakefield as in regards to their shape and their style of play. like I say, right at the end there, we're waiting for a little bit more time to be able to stay in the mix of it. That's promising in itself. So, yeah, I'm sure the players will learn from that defeat, and it'll be one of them where we look back and go, we could have had a win round one, but it's gone, and you only get one opportunity to be good, and that's the start of each week and that 80 minutes. So we'll take some lessons from it, and I'm sure that we'll rectify the things that we got wrong this week, and it's another challenge come Saturday.
And I suppose the point of that is that not to go over the top on round one, a defeat by 2 points, that we go forward, and the danger isn't there from a fan's point of view that you're putting the results from previous years on. This is a new group of players. You know, Brad's had this big pre-season with them. It's a new group of players, and they're setting their own stall out there for this season, and you know, looking to do something special together.
Of course, yeah, and the shirt's heavy. The badge is heavy. It comes with a lot of expectation, and some rightly so, but the group's different. The club's in a different spot. Like we're building, and I know how frustrating it is for the fans. We get that. The players get that. But we need them behind us to be able to get out there and perform. You only have to look at other sports, Man United, where no one can do any good. Players are under the pressure because they wear the shirt, which is understandable. And like I say, we know the things that we got wrong, and we know that we can tidy them things up. We've shown that in the trials. So yeah, round one. You want to win. You want to win at home. That was spoke about. Brad spoke about that in the preview to the game. Is that we want to make Headingley a fortress, and no team comes and gets points easy. And I reckon the scoreboard says that the Wakefield had to work for it, and they nipped it by 2 in the end. So as disappointing as it was, they're in the habit of winning. They've just gone through a year of constantly winning. And it is habit forming, but so it can be stopped and it can easily get back. It's just gaining some confidence from that. So I'm sure that this group of players will be professional enough to be able to put that to bed and put on a better performance and get the wins that we need.
And that's a good point to move on to talking about your new role within the group as that transition coach, working with the academy and the reserves. And I suppose that's getting those young lads the skills on the field, but also that mental side of things. You talk always about what Dean Bell taught you guys in the academy, and that you've got to be mentally strong as well as physically strong to succeed in this game.
Yeah, 100%. And I think when we first came into the environment, Dean Bell was from a winning culture over there at Wigan, and had instilled that into us, what it was to be a winner, and it starts by being firstly the best teammate you can be, and then caring about what you do, and making them small steps towards being a winner. Like sometimes you give it your all and you don't get the result, but you know that you've performed like a winner. So yeah, part of my role is to help them young kids realise what it is to play for Leeds, and how talented they are, but that talent's not enough. You have to have that team first mentality and build that bond through being hard, driven, and giving everything that you've got for the man at the side of you and the people in the stands. And I always go back to when we were coming through. We were so different as people, but we was all driven by the one thing, and that was to win and win for Leeds. So I've tried to instill that into the young lads now.
And the academy had a pre-season run out last week against Hull. In terms of where they're at, were you pleased with that performance? Yeah,
very pleased. We've got a great forward pack, and there was physical, and then the half-backs was really smart. And again, like, it's never going to be perfect. It's a matter of what does it look like? Does it look like you care? Does it look like you're trying hard? Are you better than you was last week? Are you better than you was yesterday? And that's where we try to challenge them is, are you getting better, and what you doing as an individual helping somebody else get better? And the main aim is to try and support from down up and push the standards from down up as well, where the standards are very high at the Super League level. We're trying to not copy and paste from the first team environment, but build resilient, outstanding players that are willing to give it their all.
And in terms of those guys who progress through, a lot of them have trained with the first team in the off season. Do you think they'll have benefited from that experience?
Yeah, definitely. I think the more people you're around, the more opportunity that you get to be around the players that are in the position that you dream of. The younger you are, the better it is. You're more like a sponge, and you're willing to listen and look and learn from them. So, yeah, it's invaluable the fact that they get to come in once or twice a week and train with the first team.
And then going forward, the reserves are in action this week again against Hull. Looking forward to seeing. There's a number of players there that haven't had much game time because of where we are in the season, but they get a chance to have a run out.
Yeah. So there'll be Jack Smith and Toby Warren and Tom Nicholson-Watton in that team, and Edgel's likely to maybe make a go of it at the weekend if he doesn't play Super League. So Brad's really committed to the lads in the fringe part of the squad. Pulling on a Leeds shirt and playing in Leeds system, so it'll be a good run out for them, but it's also a good start to the year for everybody that's worked so hard in pre-season.
One of the new features we're going to have on the Leeds Rhinos podcast each week is a bit of an update on the injury situation within the squad. I know it's something that fans often ask about where players are, so we'll run through those for you now. We've been chatting to Dave Ferguson. A big shout out to Dave as well for those who were watching the game on Saturday. Put himself in the line of fire to look after Mick Oledski. Great work there with Dave when poor Mick had a bang to the head. Great work there from the physio. We'll start with Mick. Good news, he's feeling well, he's recovering well. He'll go through the return to play protocol, which, if all things go well, should be 12 days till he's back available for action. Lachlan Miller is recovering from the calf injury. He's about 4 weeks off, returning for selection. Jack Sinfield, Chev mentioned that foot injury against West Warriors. The bruising is settling on that, so probably 2 to 3 weeks on Jack. Jared O'Connor is back in training now, so that's great to see Jared back in there. He's hoping to be in contention next week or so. And then we've got a couple of longer term ones. Obviously, Micah Seaver had his ACL injury, and we're all gutted for Micah. He's had his operation now, and he's on recovery. I've seen him down at the Bartercard training complex this morning around the boys, and everyone's getting around him to make sure he's on recovery. Ben Lookwood is recovering from a hamstring injury. He's 8 to 10 weeks. Unfortunately, Ned McCormack has had a serious hamstring injury, and Ned had an operation on that, and he's likely to miss most of this season, which is a real devastating blow for Ned. But again, everyone's getting around Ned and supporting him. And Max Simpson's had a bit of a setback on his recovery. He's got a new injury in his hamstring, and he's probably out for 8 weeks. So we wish Max a speedy recovery on that. But in terms of those lads coming through, they're getting the best possible treatment to get back out there.
Yeah, without doubt, the medical team worked tirelessly for him. And we try to give the players as much education while they're off, so that when they get fit and able and to be back in, they pick up where they left off. Now it's been tough for Max. He's had a tough 2 years, and from my own experiences, once you've had one injury, it takes a while just to get into that routine of training load, and unfortunately for him, he's picked up another one. But he's really benefited physically from his time out, and made the most of what should be a really negative period. He's getting a lot of muscle mass, and I'm sure that when his time comes, he'll be a miles better player than he was before he finished with it.
No, I remember back in the days when you were academy, Jamie Jones Buchanan went through a similar thing. Jones just couldn't get on the field for probably nearly 2 years, and then went on to have a 20-year career. So hopefully, for Max, he's got all this out of the way, and comes back stronger and more robust from all the work he's able to do. Looking ahead, Chev, to this week, a trip to Salford. Not quite sure what sort of side we're going to face over at the Salford Community Stadium. Obviously, they've had their own trials and tribulations. Does that make it difficult to prepare, or will you be preparing for their best possible? How will you approach the preparation for it?
I think it comes down to us. We've got to really prepare ourselves for us, really. I think at times you can get bogged down with overthinking and overloading on the opposition. Now, we obviously completely respect every other Super League opposition, but the more we focus on ourselves and what we can do well, I reckon the better off we'll be, and that'll pretty much be the approach this week. Is we know where Salford's strengths lie, and we know where their threats are. But if we look at that and plan and prep from us focus rather than them, then we'll be in a better spot than we have been. Yeah,
I think it was noticeable at Saints on Saturday night, even in terms of how the game went and everything else, and that's well documented. I thought it was real testament to the Salford fans who were behind the sticks there supporting their boys. And I reckon it's going to be a real siege mentality come Saturday afternoon over there. I think they'll get a big crowd. All their fans will be out supporting them, trying to help the club. It's us against the world sort of attitude. And I think Leeds fans, if you're umming and ahhing about getting over there, get over there, because I reckon the boys are going to need you behind the sticks, because it's always a tough place to go. They make plenty of noise, the Salford fans, and I reckon it'll be times 10 come Saturday afternoon. So get over to Salford and give the boys your support, because I think it'd be really, really vital. Jared O'Connor mentioned back in training. Do you think Jared could have an involvement? And obviously Ethan Clark-Woods arrived last week. How's he looking?
Yeah, he's really sharp. He's very explosive, is Ethan. The only way I can kind of explain his style of play is Aaron Newman-like. His explosive comes off both feet. So really looking forward to seeing him when he does get an opportunity, whether it's this week or in the coming weeks. And yeah, Jared's been really resilient over the last few years, and unfortunately he picked up the knock. But again, he's looked really sharp in training, and he's got stuck into pretty much everything that he's had to do in regards to his rehab. So yeah, looking forward to Jared being on board as well. And again, it changes the dynamic of the team when you have two dummy halves, which we touched on earlier. Most teams go with that, but then we've got two quality dummy halves in there. So like for like, different styles, but both add a lot to the team.
And just looking through the rest of the round, starts Thursday night. Wakefield take on Hull KR. Hull KR got a win against Castle, but I reckon they'll be disappointed with how that game went. They probably went into a lot of confidence, sell-out crowd at home, so they'll be wanting to put down the marker against Wakefield, and Wakefield will be full of confidence.
Yeah, exactly, and that's it. Hull KR have obviously spoke quite a lot over the last couple of years about how hard their pre-season is, and transferring that to the field in round one, which they not look like they were struggling, but they also didn't look like they got out of second gear, and they were trying to put a few things right and build their own confidence from that. But yeah, Wakefield going in there off the back of a win away at AMT Headingley, so it'll be an interesting watch that.
Warrington host Catalans on Friday night at the Luke Littler Stadium, newly named for the night. And then Hull FC had a great win away in France, and they welcome Wigan, who obviously had that dramatic Golden Point loss to Lee. So that could be a real humdinger on Friday night. Yeah,
there was some great clashes there. I think the Catalan one was a little bit interesting last week, and they've got an aging squad, to be honest, and picked up a few injuries throughout pre-season. So they'll be trying to steady the ship. So it'd be interesting to see where that one goes. And then Hull FC, again, going to Catalan and winning, especially off the back of their last year's run. It looks as though they may have put last year to bed, and John Cartwright's obviously come in and made some changes and done some good things there. So let's see how they go.
And then on Saturday, as well as our game over at Salford, Cass entertains Saints. Saints have had a community team in the Challenge Cup, and then obviously that game against Salford last week. So it could be a real interesting game there at Cass. We know what the jungle brings in terms of a challenge for a game. That could be correct. And then Sunday the round ends with Lee hosting Huddersfield live on BBC Two. So that could Huddersfield had that defeat to Warrington, and Lee will be full of confidence after their win in the Battle of the Borough.
Yeah, and again, Huddersfield written off pretty much before the game, and took 3 late tries in the second half for Warrington to see them off, and so that'll be an interesting fixture, to be honest. Again, Lee off of a 1-0 hard battle, and Huddersfield building and maybe have some players coming back this week. So interesting round of games.
Thanks very much, Chev. Well, don't forget, on Thursday we've got coming up our question and answer edition. So send in your questions to info@therhinos.co.uk. I will let you into a secret. We won't be talking about team selection on questions. I'm not going to go around to Brad Arthur and ask him which position he was going to play. So it's questions around the club. We've had a couple of great ones through already, one about concussion and head guards, which I'll be going to the top man on the subject for an answer on that one. But send in your questions and we'll see if we can get the answers for you. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us. Thank you, Chev, for being with us, and we'll see you on Thursday.